right. So if you're watching this video, we thought we were recording. We've just now started. And essentially what we've done to this point is a breathing exercise and then looked at some of the elevator speeches that we've written and talking now about what it was like to write those and maybe what the challenges were. Certainly self-esteem of our own comes into that. So that's part of the benefit of working on something like this and working through that for yourself. Um, I have to say, I believe that's the biggest boundary that people have to work with. We can all, I mean, we can ask AI to write us something. You know, we just heard a beautiful one from AI, but it's about being able to put ourselves out there. And Dita, I think you raised a really great point about being a new person and not really having a track record about the particular class. And yet you've got a ton of other experience that you can relate that to. Colette, do you have input about that as well? I saw your hand up. You're on mute if you want to come off.
Yes, actually, just following on from what you just said, Ross.
Mhm.
I remember talking to Brad, and other people seem to have so much experience academically, which I
Mhm.
appeared not to have. But what he said to me is, "You're very experienced in the University of Life." So I think you graduated properly, Dita,
Yeah.
and you do know the material, I would guess, because you've done it. So you're experienced in material, you know who you are, and
Thank you, Colette. That, yeah, exactly. Jen?
I was also going to say nobody has to know it's your first time teaching. You know, it's not mandatory for you to tell people that. They don't know it. No one needs to know.
Exactly.
Hmm. Yeah, they don't know if you screw up unless it's like really
you
obvious. But oftentimes we have this intention about doing things a certain way and it doesn't go quite the way we want. And it still works. What might throw it off is if we sort of lose our space and get on our back or those kinds of things. Just a second, Mina. So what was it? I was going to say something. Oh, yeah. So one thing they say sometimes about being on trainer path and being in the trainer body is everybody's trainer path looks different. You know, one trainer was off trainer path for 5 years because she had young children. And Brad told her, that's your trainer journey. So everybody's path as a licensed facilitator looks different. So our lives are what feed what we present and what we teach and what we
mm,
share.
mm,
Okay.
Mina, did you have something? Otherwise, I'll go to Janet.
I did, but I think I saw Dita's hand and then Janet's hand.
Oh,
Okay, go ahead. You go. No.
No, no, so I just want to also just pick up, Dita. One of the things you said is you don't have a marketing background. Everybody has a marketing background because we speak every single day. And people often forget this, that when we're just speaking to our children, to our colleagues, to our friends, the word marketing often trips people up. But just think of it as interacting. I'm interacting with someone, and the way that I interact allows them to connect with me in a different way or a deeper way. And because of that connection, they'll ask more and they'll want what we have, whether it is the recipe of a cake or, how do I put my baby to sleep earlier, or this course that you're doing that's so amazing. Tell me more. So sometimes it's just reframing the words in our head and going, okay, wait, I can do this.
mhm.
And you can do
And
it.
I'd actually like to offer that we're all PhDs in marketing. How many hours of commercials have you consumed over your lifetime? Do you ever find yourself watching a commercial and go, wow, that's so manipulative? Sometimes I just analyze commercials and look at why they said this, why they use this person. There's things, if you notice what you respond to in a commercial, you can start to see what it is that captures because they're doing everything they can to get an emotional response. And again, I'm not talking about being manipulative. It is out of that space that Mina's talking about, our own groundedness, our presence, and our purpose that about what we're sharing. Janet?
Thank you, Mina. That was important.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. um, Two things occur to me in this conversation. One is we have self-esteem and we have self-confidence. And we can go higher in one and higher in another, or lower in another, and vice versa. And I think when we talk about our elevator speech, or when we present our elevator speech, one of the things we could do is practice and build our confidence. And as I hear certain people talking about this, I'm getting texts from my daughter. When I hear certain people talk about this, I think maybe what it's about is taking what it is that we know. Like Dita, I think about what you shared. Yours was grounded. Yours came from your experience about what you know. And you appear to have mind talk about being new at this, but you're not new at this. Okay. So I would encourage us to take a look at how our self esteem might be high about being able to teach it. And yet, if we have mind talk in the way, we might want to look at building our confidence so that we can be more confident when we actually express what it is that we do. It's an offering.
Yeah, good point.
Oh, and by the way, Ross, I
Yes.
really like seeing your hair in the presentations. You've worn hats a lot, and it's really great to see your whole head.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate the feedback. Sometimes it goes kind of wild, and I'm like, whatever. That's just what it's going to do today.
Yeah.
Colette.
Thank you. Colette?
Yeah, thank you. I was going to say, Dita, you will be a step ahead of the people on your course because you have the manual. You will know, you will be a step ahead.
And the thing is about the manual is that even if it's your first time, if you just say exactly what the manual says, they will get it. And the more often you bring yourself to the material, you'll flip it, just like you're changing your elevator speech a bit. You'll make it become more natural. But you don't have to make it up as you go. You can trust that the manual is there for you as an anchor.
Well, and the other piece is don't forget that you're partnering with life.
Yeah.
That you're not the end all be all in that course. You're the one that maybe energy is coming through or that you're facilitating, but there's an opportunity and people will get what they were meant to have out of that experience. And the same will happen for you and your team.
Yeah.
So set an extra plate at the table for life to come in and join the feast.
Because it will.
So, yeah, and hopefully it's not a food fight, but those are kind of fun too. We're going to give you about. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Raina Sherry, we got one more comment first.
Sure.
Well, I wanted to share. You asked about what helped, and I thought I'd just share a couple things that I did. I consulted some of the things that we've done so far in this course, like from the first week, my purpose statement. I did the assignment on the highlights of my course, and that really helped me to think about, in my speech, what am I offering? When I looked at the highlights of what the Power Purpose course actually teaches. I think there was one other thing, but my facilitator Fabuloso vision board helped with that as well, and the notes that I had taken after that meditation. So I just consulted all of those things while I was doing it, and and I really, like I said, it's for me, it's really helpful having a very clear format, a template of fill in the blank sentences or starter sentences, as we called it as I was a teacher. And all three of the videos that you gave us offered a different version of a format to follow. So that really helped me. And then finally, I just wanted to say sometimes when I'm not sure, like, what are my qualities, I ask somebody, someone who knows me well or that has experienced me in this kind of work. If when I'm also feeling like and thinking, well, I'm new at this. What can I say about what I'm good at? It can help to just ask someone.
Well, especially since we all have blind spots, right? So that's the other way to fill in that blind spot is get somebody else's input into that. Another way that might work is doing a mirror process. And at the end of the mirror process, let that person in the mirror tell you what's true about you. And just open up to what comes, and you may be really surprised at what comes when you allow it to. So Raina Shay just did the transition into our next piece.
And I just want to say thank you, Raina Shay, for saying that that was helpful. That's what we were hoping when we were building this class, that one led into the other. So thank you for that feedback.
Yeah. So what we want to do is spend about 5 minutes now, allowing you to take that time to just make whatever tweaks or changes, or maybe your first draft of an elevator speech based on what we've talked about today, and especially what Raina Shay said. What did you find in your Facilitator Fabuloso? What did you find in your purpose statement? Use those pieces and see what comes to you.
And Janet, you could just use your phone, talk to text to create yours.
All right. So we'll have 5 minutes. Let's see, Colette, you're doing timekeeping today, correct? Okay, so Colette will be giving us our time cues.
Colette's actually going into a room, so I'll put time onto the breakout rooms.
We're not going to rooms yet. We're going to do the 5 minutes of writing first, and then we'll go into the rooms.
But when you go into a room, yeah.
Yeah, that'll work. Yeah, we'll figure that out if someone else needs to do it at that point, or trust the rooms. Okay, so we're at 42 after the hour, so until about 47 after the hour.
So welcome back. How was that experience of being in a group and getting feedback? Just give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, or in the middle. What did you think? Okay, good. Now we're gonna, for the next 5 minutes or so, talk about how you might use this elevator speech. What scenarios can you see yourself using this? Who's Dita?
I'm going to tweak it and use it at a team meeting tomorrow. Every now and again, I take a little bit from what we're doing for enrollment purposes, or to explain something you've explained or I've learned here for the purposes in the team, so that they find a little bit of information and connections. So as we're doing part of enrollment tomorrow, I thought maybe I would add something like this with a little bit of a story, give it some flow and invite some interactions, get some stories, and see whether we can find some more enrollment for the training.
Oh, okay.
Just a different way of being.
I love that you're bringing it up in a team meeting, because we will have another Reignite session at some point later than this, and it's a way to seed it as well as seed the enrollment process. Good idea. Who else? As you were doing your speech, what were you thinking about? What scenarios?
I was just in the elevator, but I'll think of some other places now.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say a video.
Ah. Yeah, and a video, and where might you post it?
On, I guess, your Facebook page, Instagram. I don't know actually, but
LinkedIn.
Yeah, LinkedIn.
And one thing I've learned from Amina is people don't want to see a perfect video. They want to see a real video of you sitting. She did one in an Uber, car. And I did one on my porch. It's more connecting if you're real than if you're perfect. Thank you, Jen. Janet. You're on mute. You have to use your one hand.
Thank you. I see myself using these when I'm in my temple and I'm sitting at round tables of 10 people, and it's a small enough group, and I have brief little conversations with people around the table. And I practice doing it at things like this because I never know who I'm going to be sitting with. And it's an informal opportunity, and there's room for interaction that goes back and forth, but I keep my words brief and I listen more.
Good point. Good point. Linda.
I live in an apartment complex and we have like a group mailroom. And yesterday I saw a guy I didn't recognize. I asked if he was new and he gave me his elevator speech.
Did he?
And yes, he did. And in that few minutes, I learned that he had started a financial services industry 40 years ago. And that's why he couldn't attend the social functions. And oh, by the way, he teaches tennis and it's free and, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, I'm going to do that because what am I going to say? I mean, as it is, I tend to just drop out, but now I have something to say.
Yes, it becomes an anchor.
Yes.
Yeah. And the beautiful thing about LF courses is they're open to the public.
Right.
So you don't have to wait for the right audience.
Right. And just as I meet people like at the mailbox, I'm going to have the elevator speech part, maybe not even making reference to anything, you know, that I'm teaching, but it will help it become ingrained in me. Yes, this is who I am. And oh, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense to me. Did I see another hand? One of the things that we're getting, Papari.
I was thinking, as I will do like writing in Farsi in the Instagram and attract Iranian people. And also another way I was imagining like vision, invite some people, ordinary people, to some place and talk about myself, what happened to me, and where I was and where I am now, and just without telling anything about the course, and just telling them my story, and see what happened.
Your journey. It's important. Like Linda said, it's a part of you. It's who you are.
Yeah.
That's what's enrolling.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. As part of your assignment, the next 2 weeks, we're going to ask you to put your completed elevator speech in a Google Doc. And then Amina is also going to tell us how to add that to the LF chat on the hub. So some of you may not know how to do that. You know, we've been using Facebook for so long, but Amina's going to tell us how to go from Facebook to our little edition on the LF facilitator group and get people used to chatting on the LF group. So there's lots of possibilities. Okay, Ross.
Thank you for that. I'm looking at the schedule in our time. We're actually doing pretty well. So the next thing we want to step into, now that we've worked on this a little bit, we want to look at how do we identify the 4 different types of prospects that Jilly talked about? How do we identify them? And then how do we change our elevator speech when we believe we're speaking to one of those 4 types? So first, we want to remind you of the 4 types. And Mina's going to hopefully have a chance to kick this up. There we go. Okay, so this is learning styles. The 4 learning styles that Jilly talked about was an activist is a word for somebody that learns by doing. They want to be active. Thanks for making that bigger. So the part of this is about, one thing that works for them, especially in a preview. This applies to our elevator speech as well as a preview. Give them an exercise and have them share. So that way.
I'm not seeing the screen that it sounds like you think we're seeing. Is anyone else seeing something?
Yes.
So Raina, you may have a view chosen that shows you like speaker view. If you see
I'm trying that, but it's not.
If you put your cursor at the top of the screen.
Yeah, no, I've just tried all 3 views, and I'm still not seeing the screen. I don't know why that would be.
Okay.
I see it in gallery view.
Really?
I'm going to stop share and then reshare it again. Let me just do that quickly.
Sure.
So I've stopped. Now everyone's back. And I'm going to share the screen again. And then let me know. Better? Okay.
Now I've got now
it's okay.
Interesting. I wonder what happened. That's the first time I've seen that drop like that. All righty. Thank you for mentioning it. So activists learn by doing. So having an exercise that they can engage with is something that they enjoy doing, and they're open-minded about learning. A theorist is someone who likes to understand the theory behind the actions. So if they have the facts and how the course was created, those kinds of things that originated from a couple of guys and back in the early 80s, and it's evolved over time, something along those lines. A pragmatist wants to put learning into practice, in reality. So give them a nugget to take home so they can take that and practice it. They don't like abstract theories as much. And a reflector will observe and think about the evening. So this is the kind of person that is typically quiet because the process is going on inside of their head. And you may want to follow up with them if they're non-committal, because it'll take them a little bit of time to work through their initial impressions. So we want you to think for a minute, and we can leave this up, Mina, for a minute or two. Which of these 4 are you? How would you identify yourself looking at these different buckets? You get about a minute. Think about that.
And also think about how you know that. What is it about you that tells you that you're that kind of a learner?
Raina shared hers in the chat. If you want to do that, you can do that there as well. And it may be that you're not one of these things all the time. It could be context specific. If you're learning a new task, you may do one thing. If it's something else that's emotional, you may do it differently. We tend to sometimes change a little bit depending on what's going on.
I see myself on the top 3.
All right, just another few seconds, another 10, 15 seconds. In a moment, we're going to share the 4 learning styles on a grid, on a quad, and ask you which one you are, and then we'll put you up in whichever quad you identify with. This will be visible on that quad screen. So why don't we go ahead and shift over, Mina?
Does everybody know how to see the screen of people as well as what Amina is showing? Okay, that vertical line, you can scooch over and you have the choice of what you want to be bigger. And as an LF, when you're doing an online course, you can ask the people in your class to do one or the other, or at least make sure that they know how to.
Yeah, there's a couple of different ways. Right now, I've got a film strip at the top where I've got each of your faces in a little film strip, and then I don't have the share on the side. So there's a couple different ways you can look at it, just whatever works for you. But if you're in that side-by-side view, it works really well to slide that bar to the right. Okay, so who are our activists? Let's see what's in the chat. Dita says she's both an activist and a reflector.
So just so that you know, I'm going to type here, but I can't see all of you. So Ross, maybe if you just want to call out names, and I can do that. Thank you.
So Dita was activist and reflector.
So just hold up your hand if you believe that you fit the activist learner. And when Ross calls your name, then you can put your hand down.
Okay. Pari's an activist. Okay, and then let's see, theorists, Raina Shea and Jen. All right, and Dita says she's a reflector, both an activist and a reflector. All right, that's what we've got so far. Are there any hands up? Anybody else want to share which of those you think you might be? Activist, you learn by doing. Reflector, you want some time to think about it. Theorist, you want to understand the theory behind it.
I think I've definitely learned that I can benefit from all of those approaches, but I think my natural tendency before I learned new things is more the theorist, is why I picked that one. But I can definitely see why some people are saying, well, I'm all for, because I do think we, as a teacher, I know that everyone learns by doing. There's no one who doesn't benefit greatly from that approach to learning, even if they also want, like, I want to understand the background and I need time to think about it before I'm going to commit. But I think that's one of the things that's great about the More to Life offerings, everything from the weekend, the empowerment courses, everything, is that we give people the opportunity to really experience and practice what we're teaching.
Mm-hmm. So Setlopo has shared that he's an activist and a theorist. To tag on to your share, Raina Shea, I'm sort of a context, big picture person as my natural bent. And once I have that, so I guess that makes me a theorist. Once I have that, then I know how to plug things in. So I sort of can shift from there over into either an activist or a pragmatist. So there's sort of an order that things happen for me when I'm learning or approaching something. If you start talking about a little tiny detail or a really specific slice of the pie, and I haven't sort of developed a bit of a big picture of it, I might be lost. So that's just how my mind works. And I know that about myself, so I can ask questions that help expand the big picture. But I know that about myself as well. So if somebody looks confused, you could ask them a question about, do you have a big picture of this? I'm talking about a little piece. Is there a bigger picture I can help you see? Or something along those lines. You just got to, go with your gut at that point.
Or do you want to see how you can use this in your life for the pragmatist? You'll use your intuition when you're giving a preview or when you're having a conversation.
There's something called NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. And essentially what it means is that you can tell something about how someone's thinking by the direction that their eyes go. There's other pieces to it, but if they look up, that generally means that somebody's got into their head and they're thinking about it. If they look down, they're going into what they're feeling about something. If they look left, they're looking into the past. They're thinking about what's happened to them before. And if they look right, they're thinking about what could happen, what's the future might bring. That's not hard and fast, but it's a really nice clue. And I know when I've been training, I've used it. It's helped me understand where somebody went. And if I wanted them to go into their emotions, I'd even prompt them with, take a breath and look down. What are you feeling? And they may share out of their headspace, and that's great. And then you can say, also look down. What are you feeling as you say that? So there's ways of bringing them through a journey. Ari says she's also a reflector. Mm-hmm. So you're getting a sense of this by thinking about your own, that there are ways that if someone spoke to you that would land differently depending on their approach. And that's what we want to understand at this point is there's different approaches we can take for different types of people. The next bit is how do we determine what somebody else's type is? All right.
Mina?
First, yeah.
So I also just want to add, sometimes, like you were saying, we can be everything at different parts of a conversation. So for me, I normally want, when I'm attending an event, I want to be hooked in a certain way. So I want to learn by doing. So that's up at 1. And then generally I want to know more about the product or whatever it is. And I'm one of those that asks all the questions. Okay. So that it settles in my mind and I can go, and I see the big picture. And then I dig in deeper. And then I want something to take home because that's always a bonus and give me something, whichever, which means that you invested in me and you care for me. And then let me have my time and my space to think about it. Mm-hmm. And don't pester me with 50 million emails or phone calls or whichever. I'll come to you. So I'm one of those people. If it's a yes, it's a yes. And sometimes this is also when I'm enrolling, it's tricky and it's challenging and frustrating, and it can be exciting because this is how you figure people out. But this is my personal style. So everyone has their own. But for me, it's the same like when the phone or the insurance or the bank or whoever phones me, send me an email. I'll come to you rather. And that's just me being stuck in the mud the way that I am. But this is a way that you can learn to read people and which way suits best to get them to your course.
Okay. So how would you know if somebody is an activist? What might be some clues? You can take yourselves off mute and that way it'll go a little faster. How would you know that somebody is an activist? What might give you a clue? Setlopo, you said you were an activist. What's something about you that lets you know you're an activist?
Doing some practicals, learning to really do by doing, as opposed to just getting to listen to someone. So when I put it to practice, even when I'm teaching, I would say I would rather get a person to do something in order for me to be able to give the lesson and get the effectiveness of it going through to the person than just telling.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and Mina, you can summarize if somebody's characteristics. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Setlopo. Dita.
I know this about myself because just listening without writing, if I'm in a lecture or something and I only listen, I lose it. I don't absorb it. I can't identify the material necessarily. I can create pictures, or if I write or I engage, then the process sits with me. So that is my actual go-to learning style. So I do know that about myself.
Yeah, taking notes or
And I
drawing a
know
picture says that.
Yeah. So I've seen people sit and doodle or whatever, and I've kind of thought, is this distraction? And I've asked them, and they go, no, this is how they listen or learn, is when they have a pen and paper. They can't conceptualize only. So I'm guessing a clue for me would be maybe that somebody's writing or drawing or asking and writing and drawing, that this may be their learning style. I don't know. Or the engagement with an offering, like at a preview when I got a card from Anne Mac, and I'll never forget, all she did was say, so what do you want more of in your life? Could you write that down? And I'd had a car accident and it triggered me. And suddenly what came to me at the moment was, I want my life. I want more of life, because it was so close. And so she was halfway across the mark already before I went into my reflector place, where I thought, let me think about what this might mean.
Good example.
And so I can identify as a very clear example for me.
Thank you, Dita. Who else? What is a tip or a clue about these other three types? How could you tell what was true about you that had you put yourself in that? And if you think about someone else that maybe you tried to enroll or that you did enroll, what was it that worked for them for one of these types? Janet?
I identify with the top two and the theorist. And I think first and foremost, I'm a theorist. And if I buy into the concept, if I buy into the principle of how it was put together, all the rest falls into place for me. So in that sense, I believe that that's first and foremost what I am. I want to see how it fits together. When that comes together for me, the rest just falls into place. I think I'm also a visionary. I see the big picture first, then all the details come into place. When I create a training team, I have the context first, and then the details and the content falls into place. So for me, that's the way I learn, and that's the way I get it.
Okay.
It's similar to having a purpose, right? If you know what your purpose is and you've got that embodied, then that opens up the space to see the details underneath that, or see the action steps that would support that.
Right.
Okay. Who's Mina, you're a pragmatist. What are the tips and clues that would help somebody know that you're a pragmatist, or what could they ask you that would reveal that you're a pragmatist?
So for me, I'm just thinking, when I was at a networking session last, I want to be able to find the proof. So I'll go on my phone, look at their Facebook site, look at their website. I want to know that this company that I'm looking at for whatever walks their talk. You know, they're real, they actually exist. I look at testimonials of past clients, and then I'll possibly check out the client as well, so that I can see if the client is true and what result they've had. I also want the nugget to take home. It could also be an email. It doesn't have to be something physical in my hand. You know, and for me, rather, instead of printing papers, email me your flyer or your brochure so I can go through it. But I still want you to send that to me, so that I don't necessarily have to go and search for it all over on your website. Make it easy for me to do. And if you send me a video that I can watch at some point, that's also fantastic.
Great. That makes sense to the rest of you if you think about somebody who's a pragmatist? Yeah. some of these, once people say it, it's sort of common sense in some ways, and yet we can get lost in trying to figure it out, or some of us at least want to figure it out. All right.
Generally, in any audience, you're going to have at least one of each type. So you want to make sure that what you say is going to resonate with each one of the different types.
That's one way to do it. That was one of the cool things about Gilly's video, is she really focused in on activists and pragmatists in what she presented, and then added other pieces in for the reflector and theorist. So you could set it up to where you're speaking to all four of those, and that if you're watching your either the person you're speaking to or the group that you're speaking to, you'll start to pick up visual cues about what they're responding to. Are they responding to an activist statement? Are they responding to a reflector statement? And that starts helping you understand. It's part of the reason why early in the More to Life weekend, the trainers ask people a little bit about what's going on for them, what their lives are like. So the trainers start to get a feel of what's the group, what are the people in the group, how to address them, how are they coming forward, does somebody need time, or I'm not going to call on that one again because they'll talk for 10 minutes and they've done that 4 times already. Managing the energy in something. All right, so what we'd like you to do is here. So how do you see, you just quick pop shares, if you've got an idea at this point, how would you revise your speech for a specific type? Or the current speech that you have, now that you've seen this, do you think it's slanted towards a particular type of person? Dita? Oh, are you scratching, or are you hands up?
No. I think very definitely that I'm an emotive person. My language or my communication skill is quite emotive, and I'm emotional and intuitive. And so I think my expression lands quite heavily on somebody relying on their emotional or intuitive response to me, right? As opposed to a more pragmatic way or theoretical way, where I'm very happy quickly to defer that to somebody who knows the numbers, can answer pragmatically what is or what isn't. I'll pick up quite intuitively and quickly how people are feeling or what their emotional responses are. So I think when I looked at what I'm doing, I tapped into something I believe is sensitive to lots of people, and that's children. Whether you're a librarian, teacher, parent, uncle, aunt, whatever, child is a privilege and a special person. So it gives access to me to go behind that. There's definitely an emotional thing for me. Would it reach somebody who is a business person? Maybe unlikely. I'm not sure. But now that you bring that up, I think it may not resonate for somebody who is fast-paced, pragmatic, sitting in a corporate place. I would need something different.
Well, that's maybe when you get a partner who is. So if you do a preview, find somebody who's a preview together. That's one thing that Ross and I do differently. We're different kinds of learners. And so we might do a preview together or do a class together because we're different, and we're going to hit on that different energy and those different learning styles. So when you're choosing people to work with, look for somebody who's not exactly like you.
Well, and the other piece too, I would say to that is don't prejudge or pre-categorize somebody because of some context that they're coming out of. A lot of people are business people. I know when I'm in the office, I'm different about certain topics because, and even though the company I work with invites more of that vulnerability and sharing and connection, it's still, I'm going to present things differently. And so if I'm out of the office, I'm going to receive things differently. Even if you know somebody out of a certain context, they may be different out of that context. So don't limit yourself, bring yourself forward, because that's part of what you want to do as a licensed facilitator, is let them get a sense of you. They may not be the right kind of a prospect for you, or they may sort of blossom in that energy when they didn't necessarily know it, or you wouldn't have taken that for them. I know we've had that in the anger class. We've had people where, I've thought, oh man, they're not getting it. And then I ask them what's going on for them, and they just dissolve and open up. So trust your instincts and do your best. See what happens. See what you see.
So I'm saying this because the person that I spoke to last night, one of them was a mother with 7 children, and she's quite connected, and she is a speech and hearing teacher and all of those things. Another person who I spoke to is a lawyer, and I started off a completely different way, and I thought maybe I'd be able to get some work from him, but I didn't pitch myself in a positive way, in that nice, I can do way. And in 2 seconds, the door went, I could just see his eyes go blunk, So it was definitely a thing that one learns to do. And I could just see the eyes go shut. It was like, I'm here, but behind the eyes, there's no one home.
Yeah. Next.
Live and learn, I guess.
Next.
That's the perfect segue to what we're going to do next, Dita. So thank you. So if you'll get your journals out, we want you to look at what are your unique strengths as an LF. What do you do well? And go ahead, I'll give you a few minutes to just jot down a few things that you think are your strong points as a facilitator.
Well, unlike Dita, you just noticed one of your strengths was noticing that the approach that you were taking with him wasn't landing with him. Yeah. That's a strength.
You notice that wall.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, go ahead and come to the end of what you're writing right now. So Dita gave us the perfect segue for the next piece that you're going to think about. I just put the names of all 4 of those learning types in case you don't have them in your head or a piece of paper. Choose 2 of those learning types, and you know what's true about you. What would you say about yourself? Say I'm an activist. What would I say to a theorist, or what would I say to a reflector that's going to make them be interested in me as a facilitator? So you'll have about 5 minutes to just think about what you might say or create that would interest one of those 2 of those types. Ross, you want to put on a little music while they do that?
Yeah.
And I'll stop the recording for about 5 minutes. So this is a start for what will be a continuation in your assignment for the next 2 weeks. It's a way to get us started thinking about how we might encourage and enroll somebody into looking to us for a course. Like somebody mentioned earlier, there are millions of courses out there. We want to think about why they want to come to ours. What would be the benefit for them? And how are you going to tell them that? So let's take a pause in what you were doing so far, because you'll have another chance to pick it up. But we're thinking, we've done a lot of kind of heady work. And I'm thinking maybe we could use a little bit of a stretch break.
Yes.
We're just going to take 2 minutes and just get out of your chair. Ross is going to put some music on and just let yourself stretch. I just want to share quickly what happened for me right a few minutes ago. I didn't eat lunch. And I'm a person who needs to eat. My blood sugar drops and I get really hungry. And when I said be right back, I ran to the kitchen and got some nuts. So I want to tell you this as a reminder about taking care of yourself as an LF. Whether you do a face-to-face class, whether you do an online class, make sure you eat. Make sure you have water with you all the time because it matters. If I was the lone facilitator in this course, I honestly would have had to stop and given somebody a break or something to go get something to eat. Luckily, I have a co-facilitator. I just say that just to mention it because taking care of ourselves is something that we drop out at times, and certainly I do.
Well, and to add to that, there's been times today where Sylvia was working on a section and I was going back through our timeline to try and figure out how we were going to make up some time. You know, it's the first time we've done it. We want to make sure that we leave room for the connection and experiential and for you guys to write and to process what we're telling you. So we made some shifts around that. So that's the other advantage of having either team member or co-presenter alongside you. Colette's been giving us time cues. Amina's been doing a beautiful job on capturing and doing breakouts. So this is a dance that you learn how to do. And I don't know that many of us didn't step on a few toes when we first started, but we got better.
Mm-hmm. And if you make a mistake like not eating, tell your group, hey, I just need a minute, and take care of yourself so that you can be better for the rest of the class. You're a human being. You're not going to be perfect, and just acknowledge it.
Yeah, and then the other piece, like the trainers tend to do in a weekend when they need some time to consult, they'll put the groups in pair shares, put them together. How's this going for you? How's this landing for you? 5 minutes each, and then they're over here. You can send people, send the group into breakout rooms and have a 5-minute share in pair shares, and that way you have a moment to get with your team and settle it out. Paulette, do you have a suggestion?
It seems to me if you do that, you're actually modeling the work about taking care of yourself, because very often, particularly if you have somebody on the course who's always there for others, and you look at them and they're so neglectful of themselves sometimes. Good modeling.
Okay, so we want to think a little bit about some of the stuff, using some of the things that we've been talking about today. We want you to continue this work to develop, looking at who you are, how you want to present yourself, how do you do that, what words do you use, what kind of people do you want to attract, and how do you communicate with them in person as well as through media. So, we talked a little bit already about the hub and the Facebook and pages and things like that, but there's tons of media opportunities out there that can be quick, they can be longer. You can do a picture or a graphic. You can do a video. Amina sent us an example of a video, and that's one of the things that we're going to want you to do in this intervening time between now and our next session is to record yourself and look at it for yourself. You don't have to share it, Jan. It's okay. She's immediately doing, oh my God. And I get it, because I was exactly the same way. Look at your mind talk, look at the energy in your body. That's where your growth can be. There's something that wants to be seen in you. And how do you bring that forward in a way that supports it and heals it or expands it, acknowledges it, whatever that is? So again, we're talking about a tactical piece, the media, but there's also this dance that we're doing with life as we're on our path as a licensed facilitator. So hold that thought. There is, and actually, Mina, did you want to speak to the communications people, the graphics folks that are available for licensed facilitators? You did that really well yesterday.
I can. Thanks, Ross. But before that, I just want to say, so we were just discussing the 4 different types. So this is where people that are, for example, the pragmatists, I want to see you. I don't know who you are. Why should I take a course from you? I can't see you in your media, on your website, or whatever else. So I'm one of those people, like I said, I want to be able to see who you are. And if you don't have a history, like, where did you come from? You know, and it's one of the things I always encourage our trainers. We say this often, we're one of the best kept secrets. You know, who are our trainers? We don't necessarily see all of them up front. And Mac is quite active. You know, Sylvia, you post, Ross, you post, etc. It's one of the jokes I always have with Vijay, please make a video. And like what I said, it can be really short and sweet and quick and easy. And that's where you have our global operations team that's there to support you. And one of the big pieces you'll hear coming from Tara very soon is how we're working to provide you with media, with materials. We've been doing it over the years in any event, but now wanting to really professionalize it and do it more so that you don't have to worry about all of that. You can take your time with what you are really good at enrolling, at speaking about who you are. So Tara, I believe, is coming to, which meeting is it, Sylvia? The peer-to-peer meeting in the UK.
She's going the peer-to-peer meeting in the UK, but she's also coming to the Licensed Facilitator Working Group, which is 2 representatives from each country that More to Life is in.
Well, and she was just on the quarterly call, and I believe that video has been posted. So she speaks for about 10 minutes on that call as well. So you can go listen to her there if you want to.
Thank you, Mina.
Yeah. Yeah, so we've got resources. We've got resources that can help you. The other thing, as a quick aside, for resources is there's even resources that you can engage in your community. There may be somebody newer, younger, or maybe an old fart, you never know, who knows how to do graphics, who knows how to do PowerPoints, who knows how to do PDFs or Acrobat. There's also different services, like there's one called Fiverr, Fivrr, and it's very inexpensive, but people in other parts of the world will post and you send them what you want them to do and describe it or whatever. And it can be very cheap. They can do a flyer for you. I know that we had some work done on one of the previous versions of the website where they actually wrote plugins, little applications to do things. And it didn't cost very much at all. Somebody in Malaysia, $20 or $10 is an awful lot of money. So think outside the box. Where else can I find resources that can do this? Where else would somebody else love to help me? I one time said to Ann Mack, I can't see how anybody could be an accountant. And she looked at me and she said, some people love it. And she was kind of joking, but she was also serious. There are people who would love to bring their talents forward and contribute in this way.
And ask for what you want. Just like Pari, did AI, maybe she went to ChatGPT or something that's free. I saw a commercial of a guy using one aspect of Microsoft, and he said, look, I have a document and I need a PowerPoint made.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
I need a PowerPoint made. And within 5 minutes, the PowerPoint was made for him. We have lots of tools. If I need something and I need some help, I'll put it on my neighborhood Facebook page. Does anybody know how to do this? And usually somebody's there that will help me. Same way with More to Life. Ask.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to have all the skills yourself.
Sometimes it's easier to ask to borrow a wheelbarrow than it is to ask somebody to help in some other way. And look at what that is for you. The other piece I was going to say is that you can trade off with somebody. Maybe you don't have money to pay somebody X amount of dollars to do something, but they'd love to have a coaching session from you. So maybe you negotiate with that you do a coaching session or 3 coaching sessions, and you have a plan with them about developing some media for you. Lots and lots of ways to get things done. Yeah, Amina, and then Janet.
Janet had to have my first.
Oh, okay, I missed it. Janet, you go, and then Amelia will follow you.
You're
You muted.
I want to acknowledge Raina Shea and the partnership that she and I have on the upcoming Power of Purpose class. I'm really comfortable standing up in front of a group of strangers and doing a presentation, and that's easy for me. Raina Shea put together a flyer that has QR codes for how people can sign up for our previews and how people can sign up to actually register for the course. And I had surgery a couple of years ago, and the hospital dietitian asked me to come and be a speaker at their support group meeting on Wednesday night. She said, Janet, bring your stuff. This is a good opportunity for you to get coaching clients. It's a good opportunity for you to present whatever you want. You'll have 40 or 45 minutes nonstop. So just be prepared. And, you know, several months back, I developed 4x6 postcards. One side was simple contact information, how to get in touch with me. The second side is the different courses that I offer and the coaching that I offer. Very simple, easy to see. I'm going to be bringing my postcards. I'm going to be bringing my business cards. I have a color laser printer. So I printed about 50 pages of the flyer that Raina Shea developed. And I'm going to this presentation on Wednesday night. I can't run a PowerPoint. I can't carry anything. I have 2 people lined up to drive me, and they can carry everything I need. And I'm very proud of being able to create all this, even in the condition that I'm in, so that I'll be able to get up and just talk about what it is that's going on and perhaps develop some interest for the self-esteem class or for the Power of Purpose class or for coaching or for whatever. But I'm proud of that. And it all goes to speak to how we can use one another. The dietitian at the hospital is starting her own private practice. She's going to refer people to me for coaching. I'm going to refer people to her for nutritional needs. You know, it's how we wash each other's backs. And I'm very proud of that. I just wanted to share that with you and acknowledge Raina Shea in the midst of all that.
Mm-hmm.
We each have our strengths. She's a lot better on the computer than I am.
Good share.
Thank you.
Mina, what did you want to add?
I want to remind everyone that's why you have your country communications people. So they also to do your marketing for you. So that's how we are in South Africa. In the UK, there's new people coming in. And that's why I said, listen to what Tara's saying. But that's where you use the strengths of the Multi-Life Global Operations team, who's there to do all of this and also promote it globally for you. And then, fantastic, Janet. I like the way you trade bartered. And again, that's marketing, you know, doing trade barters, doing, which I often do with our schools also, editorials in a magazine in exchange for free sessions or vouchers that they could use as a giveaway. Now, it's that kind of tweaking. Let's think differently, but also at the same time, just remembering that you're wanting to partner with places and people who are aligned with your ethics and the ethics of more to life. So it may be a bit of a hit and miss in the beginning until you get it right. But that's fantastic. And that's how they do your advertising, like Janet's doing with the dietitian, without you having to do any heavy work.
I'd like to follow up with a question. What can the local communications team do to support us as facilitators? Other than send out a newsletter every month, what is a reasonable request that we can invite them to participate in?
So let's take that offline because it's a great question.
I was going to say, so bigger conversation because every country has it differently. And that's why I'm saying, listen to what Tara is saying. So in the US, there's 2, there's Rachel and Sam, for example. In South Africa, there's me. But we all do things in a variety of ways. And we're wanting to be more, yeah. So we can email Janet.
Quick question. Can you say again, you mentioned a 10-minute section where Tara's speaking on a video. Can you tell me again where I might find that?
That's on the LF Global call.
LF Global call.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I sent that out to the licensed facilitators this week. And so if you
Okay.
didn't get a chance to attend the call, or maybe you attended Sunday's call, it'll give you a chance to look at the Saturday call.
All right. Thanks.
So one of the things that I really liked about Gilly's video were the questions that she asked, and talked about having some questions ready for your particular class. And that's one reason why we wanted you to take a look at your classes that you're qualified to teach and hit the high points of those. Gilly's questions were, and this could be on a flyer, it could be on a video, it could be on a little note on the hub or a Facebook page, anything. But it's questions that you ask that you hope are going to bounce off somebody and they want to know more. It goes like this to you. One of the questions was, do you criticize yourself? Well, that's pretty universal. We all do. Do you take things personally? Do you drive yourself or compare yourself to others? You know, those are things that everybody does to some extent or another. So when you're developing your media, come up with about 3 questions. And I think 3 is just about perfect, because it gets them in, gets them thinking, but then it's not too much to read.
And we're going to send you sample questions for all 3 of the licensed facilitator courses, so you can see how you can focus it in that's topic specific, whether it's self-esteem, power of purpose, or power of connection. Just as thought starters, you know, you can develop your own. You may come at it completely differently depending on the population that you may be targeting. If you're talking to nurses, or you're talking to this, or you're talking to that, you know, there may be specific questions for that context that you would want to use for that class. But we'll send you out those samples, and that way you can think about it and look at it. We're really wanting you to start looking at who you are, what your statement is, who the people are that you might approach, how you might speak to them, how you can customize your media. All of this is part of the same thing. That's a continuous piece that comes out of you about who you are and what you're doing, and then how do you communicate it.
Mm-hmm. So those will be sample questions. We're hoping that you will add to the list that we send out, so that whenever you want to make a flyer or something, or do a speech like Janet's getting ready to do, maybe you have them written on a sheet in the front of the room, or a board, or wherever you choose to put them. But it'll help if you have made yourself kind of a bank of questions that are enrolling. And you may not be qualified to teach all 3 classes yet, but you might be. So if you keep that list and you get a list going for yourself, it will help you in the future.
And we'll see about if we can set something up on the hub. I'd love to have resources on the hub where we've got these kinds of priming questions for media and all that stuff. If you have that stuff that you develop, offer it forward.
Yeah, because we do have a resources button, and I am gathering materials. So if you create something, send it to me. I'm making a bank of resources for all of these classes, so that I can share that. Once you pay your license, I can share with you a Google Doc that'll have lots of materials specific to the course that you're interested in. I want it to make it easy for us. Work smarter, not harder. Works for me.
Yeah, the tactical stuff we master, we have resources for, so that when we're actually doing a course, we're focused on our space and the people that we're working with. Colette.
I would like you all to know, being on team, we had some sense of the amount of work that Ross and Sylvia have put into the course, and they lose no opportunity to take something forward and think of you, each of you, and what the resources that they can consider would would empower you actually to move forward. A lot of work and a lot of love and care is being done behind the scenes for your benefit.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good for you.
Thank you.
And we'll tell you, like we tell the team, this is not our proprietary product. This is the start of something we're all creating together. You know, we're looking for more people to learn how to present this. We'll continue to develop this. And we want you to make your contributions as well. This is not exclusive to me and Sylvia at all. This is part of the foundation that's being built to serve you.
Yeah, we consider this the pilot. But at some point, if you and somebody else want to do this, it's fine. We're hoping that you do.
Or be on team, you know. I think that Colette and Mina and Karin have been great supports for us. But the really cool thing is I think they've actually grown and learned along the way themselves. So that's always something hopeful. Or they get to put their part into the mix, part of what's valuable to them. Colette?
Well, that's been a surprise to me, you know, with my many, many years of experience. It's very easy to sit back and say, well, I've done it all. And of course, it's all fantasy, isn't it? So I'm learning as I go, and surprising learnings. But then that reminds me that's what it's like being a licensed facilitator. You really do get life shocks that wake you up, and it's wonderful.
We had an incredible conversation yesterday about cultures and context. You know, this, because Beth was with us at the beginning, but about halfway through shifted to other things. We got feedback. This was sort of a US-centric context, the way it was coming across. And so we asked them, what do we want to do? How do we change that so it lands better with other cultures and other contexts? And that's really important. It's really important. I think one of the really cool things is sometimes inviting prospects into a class, and you can tell them, and I've told people, I've got people from the US and the UK and South Africa on this class coming up, and you'll get to meet them.
It's enrollment.
So, yeah.
It makes it more interesting. And, you know, Amina and Karin have a lot of technical expertise. Colette has the longevity in the program and the experience as a licensed facilitator. So she's great at giving database feedback. So when you create your teams, look for different kinds of people. And I just like having people from different places on it. It adds to the richness.
Yeah, I kind of feel like we cheated this time because we had 3 super strong team members. Because a lot of times when Sylvia and I are doing different things, I'm looking for people that don't know yet that they may have something that I see in them, or have sort of stuck their toe in the water and not quite sure how to do more. And so we invite people on team so that they can learn and they can start to understand what it takes to do one of these. We had somebody who came on team who was a lot of potential, didn't have any technical skills, and she's learned the technical skills, and her eyes are fantastic. So that's one of the things I'm passionate about is bringing forward, creating space for new people to step in and learn what's there, because it's just beautiful to watch somebody grow.
And I like what Janet said about we're a village. Let's consider ourselves a village of facilitators where we can uphold and support each other. We're not in competition.
Oh, there's 8 billion people on the planet. I'm pretty sure there's enough room for all of us. So before you close, is there any questions you have or anything that you'd like to share with the group to complete your session today? We've got about 6 minutes left. Okay. We have a couple people missing today. Just a second, Dita. And, you know, we hope that you watch this video and know that you were missed and that we're looking forward to your return. Dita, what did you have?
I wanted to say thank you. I think an acknowledgement to you and the team and to Sylvia is in Colette, to all of you is overdue. So yes, I see the work that you've put in, and I just want to say thank you. It's definitely affecting me profoundly, and I've learned a huge amount, and I am learning. So I'm worrying about missing one course because it is our More to Life weekend. But I will do some work around that, just to know that it is as it is. It's life coming, right? But thank you everyone.
And you'll have your learning there.
Yeah, I can tell you that even though we're watching a recording, the first time I watched a recording back of a Zoom meeting, I was asking questions. I was getting really frustrated because nobody was answering my questions. I kept going on mute, coming off mute, and trying to chat. And then I figured I'm watching a video. So even if you miss the class, be sure and watch the video because it'll still be valuable for you.
So we will, Janet, do you have a question?
And I just have a piece. I want to let everybody know that today is the anniversary of Brad Brown's death. He passed in 2007, and I sent a private text to Sylvia and Ross during this saying that I can just imagine right now that Brad would be so proud looking at what we're doing today, what's being created on behalf of all of us. And I can just see him like smiling down on all of us. So Sylvia and Ross especially, as well as the team, thank you.
Thank you, Janet, for mentioning that. It's important to acknowledge the creation of this program.
Yeah, I know I am very different than I was when I went to Warrior, and I only had a 2-minute interaction with him. And even in that 2 minutes, I had an experience of him that changed me. He was my most gentle soul. I've never experienced that kind of energy off of anybody before. And I'd heard all of these stories about how he's going to come in and he's going to shake the room. And then he was that way with me. And it was just an amazing experience. It really modeled for me creating space and holding somebody in space. So thank you for remembering him.
So we will send out the assignment. Basically, you're going to continue to work on your elevator speech, looking at those 4 types of learners. And I'm going to encourage you to put it in a Google folder. Ross and I are going to create a Google Doc folder where you can upload it. And that way, like Pari asked earlier, will we be able to see everybody else's? We want to see it because there may be a piece from that we can use for ourselves. And then also sharing it on the chat on the hub. We have an LF group of facilitators that some of whom have been doing it a long time, some not so long. They may not even have an idea about an elevator speech. But if you share yours, it can spark some creativity for them. And Amin is going to help us with some directions on how to do that.
Yeah, if you don't know how to upload, you can email it to me and I can upload it for you. The thing is that sharing those little snippets out on the Facebook page, people start thinking, wow, that sounded like an interesting class. Maybe I'll join it the next time. They start seeing the value in it.
Or look on the hub and see when's the next one. If I can't do Janet and Raina Shay's POP, when is another one coming that I could do?
All right. I think we're at completion. Raina Shay?
I just wanted to ask Pari if she would be willing to share her second elevator speech, the revised thing that she shared in the breakout. It's really short.
Okay, Pari, are you willing to share your revised elevator speech?
Uh-oh.
I couldn't hear you, so I'm not sure.
You don't look like you're muted, but we didn't hear you just then. Speak up and let's see. Let's do a sound check.
Oh.
Darn. Well, I guess you'll have to share it next time.
Well, we set the stage and now we're all anxiously waiting for Pari's elevator speech. Colette?
Before we go, I would like to say Setlopo. I'm so pleased to see your face of a very handsome man. And it is lovely, literally, to see you.
And a
Yes.
little bird told me that you had a birthday this week. So
Oh.
happy birthday to you, 65 years old. That's quite
Oh,
a
right.
milestone.
Hey.
So
Yay.
happy
Happy
birthday.
birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy
Oh, there you are,
birthday.
Pari. Now you can share.
Okay,
Oh,
I will.
thank
Do you,
ahead.
okay, do you want to become butterfly as I did?
Become a butterfly. What was the second piece?
As I did.
As you did. Oh,
Beautiful.
that's,
Yeah,
yeah, that's
just came
definitely.
in my,
Mhm.
I
And it
am
leaves you
going
an
to,
opening to tell your story.
Yeah.
yeah,
Good. Well done,
Lovely.
everybody.
thank
Thank you so
you.
much for your participation, your willingness to
Bye.
share yourselves. And I find
Yeah.
myself looking forward to the next class meeting in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Thank you,
All right.
everybody.
Thanks all.
Bye,
See you
everybody.
in 2 weeks.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Good night.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Good
Thank
night.
you. Good night.